Hello, hello. Sorry I'm late. I did not want to skip this one. I try to go live with Leo every Monday at noon Eastern time, and it is now 12:30. About 12 minutes before I was supposed to go live, I get a call from my second daughter, the 22-year-old. And so I don't want to put her business out there or anything, but when your kid calls, especially when they're grown, they usually don't call. They usually text. So when they call, you answer. And when they call and the first thing you hear is, "Are you busy right now?" And you're like, no, I'm not busy right now. And so, um, boyfriend and boyfriend, that's all. So, like I said, I don't want to put her business out there or anything like that, but you got to be mom. Even when they're grown, you got to be mom, and you got to. And luckily for this is why I quit my job, my 9 to 5 job, so that I could have more flexible of a schedule, so I could be a better mom and a better wife, and just more present for my family. And so, unfortunately, that means putting off a live session for 30 minutes and making you guys wait. I apologize, but got to be a mom. So that's what happens. Yes. Janet says, "I was hoping you were here today." Yes. All right, let's turn that on. Thank you. Thank you to those who are here. I didn't even get a chance to post the link to it in my Facebook group. So if somebody on the Facebook group wants to take this link and post it in the in the Facebook group, then go for it. If not, I will just post the recording of it later so that anybody who misses the live can see it later. So anyway, so I wanted to talk today, and I can't talk very long because my youngest daughter has an orthodontist appointment today, and so we have to make sure that we leave in time so that we can get there for her. And amazingly, I did not pick this time. And she hates me for saying this joke, but today she has an orthodontist appointment for her teeth at 2:30. 2:30. Sorry, that's a typical dad joke, right? But it really is at 2:30. And it takes like an hour to get there between traffic and parking and all that stuff. So we have to make sure that we're out and on the road before 1:30. And so I have to make sure this is wrapped up before an hour is up. Anyway, I know. Well, I got a laughy cry face from emoji from somebody in the chat. So, okay, I've done my job. I've done my job. Thank you. You can go ahead and put a tip down the bottom too. Okay. So, but today I did want to talk about, and I've said this before a few times, that I go to church on Sundays, and a lot of times the topic that the preacher gives us, it's always biblical, and it's always, about being a better Christian and about witnessing to people and, living for Jesus and all the big overarching messages that you get from church, right, as a Christian. But there's usually a topic that pertains to everyday life that he uses, and he'll cite scripture and things like that tie it all together. But the topic itself is always applicable to just life in general. It's always good life lessons. And so I always listen to the sermon and I think, how could I turn this into a message for my widowed community? And sometimes it applies and sometimes it doesn't. And, but I always feel like I could get some inspiration from that. And this week it happened to apply pretty well, I think, because it was the first service of the new year. And so it's more of like a inspirational, motivational message that I think you're seeing it everywhere on YouTube, right? Like, what we're going to do new for 2025. Here's how to make your business grow. Here's how to be happy. Here's how to start a YouTube channel. Here's how to turn your life around. Here's how to, whatever. They don't call them New Year's resolutions anymore because that's not cool. But it's still that idea of a fresh start, turning over a new leaf, let's do something different than we did last year. Let's do something better. And so it's still that same idea, even though we don't use the words resolutions anymore, because that seems to be like a taboo term to use because it's so outdated, right? And so his message this Sunday was about, what's your passion? And so he was basically, and he definitely tied it together with biblical scripture and, the Christian view and the Christian worldview. But I want to just talk about it in terms of life in general and our grief journey and how we can incorporate that into moving forward through this grief journey and how it can help us. Because I do think that there was some good points. And of course I wrote them down, and don't have them in front of me. And so I did take a picture. Hold on. I took a picture of some of the notes that I did. So maybe that'll help me. But I don't have like a specific notes list right now that I can read from. I'm just um, from the hip. Like I'm shooting from the hip, right? Um, and so, but he said something that that I've tried to say in a lot of different ways, and he just said it so succinctly and so like easily. And I wrote it down. I'm going to read it. So he said, "Act yourself into feeling versus feeling like acting." Right? And I've said this so many times before, but the way that I've said it is um, if you wait until you feel like getting out of bed and going and doing stuff and laughing and smiling and making yourself feel better, if you wait until you feel like doing it, you're never going to do it. Like you have to do it first, and then you will eventually feel like doing it. Okay. It's the same with every kind of change that we need to make in our life. If you want to lose weight, you have to eat like a skinny person before you're actually skinny. I don't know, it's not really skinny, thin, healthy, fit, whatever. Um, you have to exercise like a fit person even before you become a fit person. Right. And so you have to fake the funk. All right. Fake it till you make it. So you have to do the things when you are sad and you're grieving. You have to do the things sad until you start to feel happy. If you wait until you start to feel happy before you start doing the things, you'll likely never do them. And so it's like dress for the job that you want, right? Why do my nose always get itchy? Hold on. Dress for the job that you want. So, and that's not the case for me now because I work from home. And so let's see, set goal, smash it, repeat. Okay, so I'm dressing for the job that I want, right? But anyway, they say that if you want like a professional job, then dress like a professional person. People will take you more seriously. People will think, "Oh, wow, okay, she's a professional," right? So it's sort of the same thing, and it's hard to do when you're grieving because we have to pretend like we're happy, or we have to trick ourselves into acting happy, or we have to go through the motions of being happy, maybe before we even feel like being happy. And so that's really hard to do. And then it's kind of like we feel like we're faking it because we are sometimes. Like why should I act happy when I'm not? Because in order to become happy, you have to practice it. Like you have to practice going through the motions, and you have to do it anyway. And then eventually your heart will catch up to your body and your actions. Okay. Eventually, whatever it is, the goal that you're trying to reach will catch up to you because you've lived like that person that you want to be until you become that person that you want to be. And so, and I know a lot of people get stuck in a rut where they're like, well, I don't want to be happy. I don't care if I never get out of bed again, and I'll never love again, and I'll never be happy again, and I'll never stop crying, and I'll never, I'll miss him forever. And, the woe is me and the I'll never smile again kind of attitude. We get in those ruts sometimes, and it's okay to be in those ruts sometimes, as long as we don't get stuck in those ruts for weeks, months, years, to where it's been years and we're like, yep, still sad, never going to be happy again, because he was my life, he was my everything, he was my whole universe, and without him I have nothing, I am nothing, I feel nothing, I don't want to do anything. Like when you tell yourself that over and over and over again constantly, guess who you believe more than anybody else? Yourself. So when you talk to yourself in a certain way, you believe yourself because you are you, right? You're credible because you can lie to yourself, but you kind of know you're lying. And then if you lie to yourself enough, you start to believe it because you don't want to think of yourself as a liar. And so you have to start telling yourself a different narrative so that you start to believe that narrative. You'll believe yourself. And then once you start believing yourself, then you start becoming that thing that you're telling yourself that you are. It's this circular, it's going round and round, and it's hard to do when we're not motivated to do it. Why should we act happy when we're not feeling happy? Because that's the way to get happy. That's the way to feel happy. And and just because you feel happy doesn't mean you don't grieve anymore. Just because you're feeling you're laughing at a joke doesn't mean you're not sad that your husband died anymore. Like, you can be two things at the same time. It's just what's in the front of your mind and what's in the back of your mind. When the grief and the loss is at the front of your mind all the time, it's top of mind awareness, TOMA, then your life is going to revolve around whatever it is that's on the front of your mind that has your attention all the time. And so if all you think about is the loss that you're experiencing and the fact that you are living this life without your husband or your wife, then you're going to act accordingly. You're going to feel accordingly, and you're going to be stuck in that grief rut as long as you continue to talk to yourself that way. So positive self-talk is what's going to talk you out of that rut that you're in. And there's lots of exercises you can do to help do that. Like, if you're not sure, well, how do I just talk to myself? I just tell myself, you're happy today, knowing that I'm not. It's not as simple as that, but there are exercises and things that you can do that will help. And it's not something you do one time and everything's fixed. It's exercises, it's routines, it's practice. You don't go and do 3 sit-ups and then suddenly you have a washboard stomach, right? The things that you see people accomplishing, even if you think they're an overnight success, they're never an overnight success. You just didn't know about them when they were spending all the other nights working towards the overnight success that they got themselves to, right? And so you're not just going to become this grieving widow and then tomorrow you're going to be happy because you told yourself, I'm happy today, and suddenly you are. It's a process and it's a long journey, and the changes happen slowly, gradually. And so, but you still have to keep doing the things in order to get to that goal, to where you are. Like, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. That doesn't mean you can take one step and you're there. You still have to take 999 more steps or 999 more miles, right? And so, if you want help with that, my pivot course, griefpivotcourse.com. I'm putting it in the chat and I'll put it in the description below. Let me put it in here, griefpivotcourse.com. The Grief Pivot course is specifically designed just for that. It's 28 lessons. It's available to you forever. You pay once and you have access to it forever. And you can go through it at your own pace, go through the lessons as quickly or as slowly as you want. And it's all about getting yourself out of that rut, that grief rut, and putting yourself on the path to find happiness, hope, acceptance, contentment, all those things that you're missing out on when you're stuck in that grief rut. And so I just want to put that out there. Now, why is it called What is Your Passion? Because that's the topic of today, is what is your passion? And so what does it have to do with what I'm talking about? Because finding your passion is what's going to be the avenue to get you on that path to doing whatever it is you want to do, or to getting where you want to go, or to becoming that person that doesn't have grief at the top of your mind all the time. All right. And a lot of times when we're grieving, we lose that passion. We have passion for things, we have hobbies, or we have things that we're very passionate about, things that we love, things that we appreciate, things that we love to do, things that we love to experience, music that we love to listen to, art that we love to look at, books that we love to read, hobbies that we love to, art that we like to create, whatever it happens to be, right? Sports that we like to play or watch or become involved in. Whatever it might be. It doesn't matter what it is, because we all have our own passions and our own interests and things like that. But a lot of times when our spouse gets sick or when our spouse dies, we forget about all the things for ourselves. We forget about the passions that we had because we're too focused on dealing with this death. Okay. In the beginning, it's dealing with your emotions, but it's also dealing with legal stuff. It's also dealing with financial stuff. It's also dealing with, logistics stuff. Like, are you going to live are you going to stay in the same house? Are you going to get rid of their things? How are you going to make the bills? Do you have a life insurance policy? How do you apply for Social Security benefits or pension benefits? How are you going to probate the will? And, how am I going to survive on my income? Do I need to go out and get a job where I didn't have to work before? How am I going to raise the kids? All these logistical things that you have to figure out because you are suddenly a solo parent or a solo person, and your whole life has changed, and not because you wanted it to. So you're solely focused on all the logistics of figuring out how do I live this life now that I don't even want to do as a widow or a widower. So that takes all of your attention for months, at the very least, months. Okay. Before everything, all those things that you have to do one time, like figure out your job or figure out your expenses or probate the estate or whatever, all those things you have to do essentially one time to figure out how to adjust your life to being widowed. After all the dust settles on all of those things, then you're stuck looking around thinking, okay, now what? I'm still sad. I'm still grieving. My husband's still gone. And now I'm having to try to live this life by myself. A lot of times we still forget about our passions, about the things that we love, about the things that make us happy, the things that bring us contentment, the things that fill up our soul with joy. Because either we're too busy, we're too sad, or we feel like we don't deserve that happiness anymore. We feel like we don't deserve to feel that happiness, and then we feel guilty. How can I pursue this passion that I used to have for whatever it might be when my husband died? Like, people will think that I'm callous or I didn't care about him, or, how could I lose myself in the joy of this activity when I'm supposed to be grieving for my husband? Right. And so that transition of moving forward or moving into a new phase, it always comes with that guilt. Right. And so that's something we have to sort of manage and deal with inside of our mind and our heart. But those passions that we used to have, or maybe they're passions for new things. Maybe it's something new that you always thought about or you never even thought about and didn't realize and now you want to try. Those things are going to be what helps carry you forward, and away from that grief rut that you're stuck in. So the first thing I want you to do is think about what those passions were. What did they used to be? Before Dewey got sick, I was big into sewing and fabric, and I never did really quilt a whole lot. I tried quilting a few times. I did not enjoy it. It was too exact. It was too, and that's totally against me because I usually like exact and precise and things like that. But I just didn't enjoy it. It was too bulky and too big, and it's expensive. And it takes a long time to make one big project. I'm more of a person that likes to sit down, start to finish, and make something and be done with it. So clothes for me, like sewing clothes and gifts and stuff, was perfect for me. I sewed so many clothes for my kids when they were little, especially Dallas, my youngest one, when she was like between the ages of 1 to 5-ish. Man, about half her wardrobe was, I made it for her. And I totally forgot about that. I was looking through old pictures the other day and I was like, wow, I made that for her. I made that for her. Oh my gosh, I made that for her. And I had forgotten about all these clothes that I made. And I realized that just out of sheer joy, that was like how I spent a lot of my time, because it made me happy because I was doing something for somebody else and I could look at it and say, hey, I made that. I made myself some clothes. I'm usually made it for the kids. I made cloth diapers. That's how I learned how to sew. My kids, my two youngest kids were 100% cloth diapered kids. And so I sewed all of their cloth diapers, and they were fancy. I mean, they were like, how can you make a cloth diaper fancy? But they were. They had cute little stuff embroidered on the back. They had tails and ears on the sides. They had it was fancy, right? But that was my thing. And then when he got sick, um, everything got put to the wayside. As a matter of fact, I was starting another side business right before he got sick, and I was doing these sewing boxes. Like, y'all know about, everybody knows about a subscription box, right? Like a makeup box you get every month. Like razors, you get Dollar Shave Club, you get razors every month. You can get medicine every month. You can get supplements. Like, you can do all these things subscription. So I'd started a subscription box for sewing. And it was a learn to sew subscription box. So everybody got the same box in the same order. So in the first box, they got the instructions and they had all these little worksheets, and I had a video that I showed them how to do and all the starter kits. And then each box would get subsequently more, harder and more advanced. And they would learn how to make hair ties and pillowcases and handbags and all this stuff. And I was putting all these boxes together, and I had only been doing it for a few months, but I was really getting into it, and it was growing pretty big. By the third month, I think I already had 30 people subscribing, and at $30 a pop, I mean, it's not that's not all of your profit, right? But it was growing pretty quick. And then right about that time, Dewey got sick. And so I had to put all that on the I had to put everything on the back burner. I couldn't keep buying supplies and putting together boxes and, you know, researching patterns and making videos and all these things. I couldn't do any of that anymore because I had to work, raise kids, and, be partial caregiver to my husband who was sick. Luckily, I did not have to do all of that by myself. His mom did help, and my oldest daughter did help. And, we had hospice nurses and all these things. But, needless to say, not only did I have to put that business on the wayside, but I also had to, like, I did not sew. I stopped sewing. As a matter of fact, and that was when he got sick was 8 years ago. So, like I've only sewn, one time since, since he got sick. And that was only to hem a dress for my youngest daughter to be in my middle daughter's wedding, her bridesmaid's dress. I did one thing. I hemmed a dress. That was it. And I've got my whole basement is full of sewing stuff. And it was something that gave me joy and that, was I love to do, but I couldn't do it in the beginning because I was too busy. Then after I wasn't as busy, I don't know if I've ever been not as busy, but even when I could have like implemented that time back in, I just like I couldn't find my groove, my sewing groove again. I couldn't find that passion again. I just couldn't get back into it because my heart wasn't in the same place. And it was just different. And so, but I found some other passions, like, fabric is always a passion for me, even if I don't sew with it. But I learned about YouTube. And so I learned how to do a YouTube channel. I'm still not the best at it, but it's something that I can reach other people and hopefully help some people through some trying times that they might be going through by sharing my experiences. Um, Teaching was like zero passion for me after Dewey got sick and he died. I did have a passion for teaching, but I lost that passion very quickly. And then education changed and I just did not have, I had to get away. Right. And so I finally quit that a few months ago. If you followed me, you know that. But the point is, you know, I'm trying to follow these new passions or some bring back some old passions and some things that help to motivate me, to give me some goals to reach, to give me something to do, to give me something to work towards, to give me motivation, to just keep my head busy, to give me time to think about things or not think about things and keep my mind off of things. And so those things that I'm passionate about that I do dabble back in, those are the things that help me get through the tough moments. If you don't have anything that you're passionate about, of course, you're going to sit around by yourself and think all about your lost spouse all the time. And so, and that's where we get stuck in that rut. So, my message to you, because I can't stay on here for too long, and I want to, I want to wrap it up and then head on out the door so I can get my kid to her dentist appointment. But I encourage you, since it is the new year, right? It's January 6th, right? So it's still the first week of the year. Um, Try to sit and think about what your passion is or what your passions are. What are you passionate about? What did you used to be passionate about? And are you able to bring that back into your life? If you can't do that, or you don't want to, or if you lost the passion for those things, then what is something new that you might be interested in pursuing and learning about? Because as long as we're alive, we should be learning, right? When you stop learning, your brain goes dormant, and then your brain gets lazy, and that's when dementia sets in, and all the old age things start to set in, right? Your brain is a use it or lose it, just like your muscles. So if you don't continue to work your brain, then your brain will get soft, and you will start the fog sets in, the widow's fog sets in, and all that stuff. And you don't want to do that. Like, you want to keep all the cobwebs out of your brain by utilizing it in whatever way that you want to do. So I encourage you this week to sit down and think about, what are you passionate about? Whether it be, what did you used to be passionate about that you might want to try again, that maybe you put it down, since your spouse got sick or since your spouse has died, or what's something that you always thought, I always thought about trying that, but I just never really got around to it. Well, maybe it's time to get around to it, because trust me, with YouTube and Google and the internet, you can learn how to do anything. There's videos showing you how to do anything that you want to learn how to do. like down to the step by step. And so spend some time with yourself and think about what is it um, that I might want to try to do? Because when you figure out what that is, and then you start exploring, and then you start looking into making time for yourself to do those things, whether it be sitting down in a hobby or, like I said, cooking, like try, how about new cooking recipes, or like I said, exercising, working out, putting together new clothes outfits, and just trying to become more up with the fashion, or you know, learning a new job, like training to get a new job. You never know, you might be able to go out there and get a new job that you love, that you don't even feel like you're working because it's something that you love so much. Learn how to do something new, photography, art, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm sure you've already got a few things in your mind besides sitting around and watching TV all the time. um, try to come up with some things that you might want to try, or you want to bring back into your life. And that will be the catalyst. That will be the vehicle that will help you propel you forward into this new year, so that you can move towards a place where you're feeling hope, where you're feeling, dare I say, joy, right? And it doesn't mean your whole life's going to be filled with joy all the time, every minute, because we all know that no matter who you are, that's never the case. But you do deserve to feel some moments of joy, of happiness, of hope, of acceptance. And we've got to go through those processes and those feelings, so that we can get to where we need to be. Because you're not meant to be living this earth and walking this earth until you die as a person who does nothing but think about your late spouse and how much you miss them and how you'll never be happy again until you die and you're reunited with them at some point. Like, I've heard so many people talk like that, and I feel so bad for them, because I feel like how sad that they're in that situation where they feel no hope. They feel, and it's not like they want to be sad, but they act like they don't want to be happy. And I know that can't be the case. I know that can't be the case. Nobody wants to be sad all the time. And so the first thing we got to do is get you to wanting to feel happiness. Because sometimes people actually don't think they want to, because they're so stuck in their grief and their sadness all the time that they're just like, I'm just going to be sad forever, because they feel like they can't. And so the first thing you got to do is convince yourself that you can feel joy and happiness and hope, and you can have a new normal. As much as I hate that term, you can do it. Like, you're going to be a person who's widowed rather than a widow who is walking around as a widow all the time. Right. So we're going to shift that mindset and take that grief from being top of mind awareness and put it to the back, put something else in the front of our brain that brings joy, that brings contentment, that brings happiness, hope, motivation, all the positive things that you feel. Okay. Something you want to learn, something you want to do, something you want to experience, something you want to start doing again. And post it down below what it's going to be. What is it that you're going to get back into, or you're going to start getting into this year, that's going to be your vehicle, that's going to be your catalyst, like that moves you away from the grief and more towards being one happy widow, right? Okay, I'm going to read some comments just to see if I've missed anything. And how's the weather? It's fine. We were supposed to get some rain and we haven't. And it actually hasn't been too cold, but we got a cold front coming through. So right now it's okay. But I know in the next couple of days it's going to be really cold. Thank God I live at home and work at home. I don't have to leave the house if I don't have to. Marcia says, I get emotional in church. Yes, I used to get really emotional when I went back to the church where Dewey was buried and where he had his service. It was very triggering. And so we had to move, we had to change churches. And so we ended up moving anyway, but I still get emotional in church, but not for the same exact reasons. But I still shed more tears in church than I do anywhere else, because it does a lot of times remind me of where I am and the situation I'm in. But it's okay, because it's also cleansing. So Idea Factory waves, and Piano Mom says hello from snowy Vermont. Oh, you can keep the snow. You can have all the snow. Anarchy says, you're right, Leo. Fake it till you make it. Sometimes it works for me. And if not, tomorrow's a new day to try it again. Love from the Netherlands. Thank you for coming back in, Anarchy. Piano Mom says, I have to make myself sit at the piano when I get in a rut. Yeah. And I took piano lessons for years and years and years. And I noticed that and my teacher instilled in me the good posture. So I have really bad posture, but I noticed that when I sit at the piano, even now, I automatically sit straight. Like I sit with my piano posture instead of being bent over like this, which is my habit. So if I imagine myself sitting at the piano, I automatically sit up like this and here. And, I remember her saying light fingers or whatever. So yeah, definitely. Just got back from Christmas vacation. Julia says, glad to see you. Thank you for coming in. Sharon says, good afternoon. Happy New Year, everyone. Sharon from Michigan. Let's see. Sharon says, I'm making 2 junk journals. Keeps me busy most of the day. Oh, yeah. Okay. I tried journaling, like junk journals like that before. Scrapbooking, I guess you could call it, sort of. And it was too messy for me. Like I have to have instructions on something. I have to have something that I follow a template or a pattern specifically, and I can copy it like sewing a pattern. I can't do freehand, like creative art from scratch. It's not like my brain is not doesn't work that way. I have to have constraints and like specific instructions. That's just how my brain is. Doesn't mean I can't be creative, but I have to follow a pattern for sure. Evelyn says she took it and helped me so much. Need to revisit the class. So yeah, that's the nice thing about the course is that once you take the pivot course, ooh, something just fell off the desk. A calculator. Once you take the pivot course, you can take it, you can re-look at it, you can look at whatever you want, you can go in whatever order you like, you can do it over and over again whenever you need to, or you can just revisit the lessons that you want whenever you need to. So most people who have taken the course have said, yeah, I took it and retook it in different parts. So most people go revisit it when they get stuck and they kind of need a little boost. And so it's always there for you. Someone remembered I played the piano and hired me during December. I was so happy. Oh, nice. So that's that gets you back to your passion. Awesome. Sonia says, hello from South Carolina. Hello, Sonia. Sorry about New Year's. I was conked out. I was supposed to be there at New Year's Eve at midnight and I couldn't do it because I was too tired. Anarchy says, right again, Leo, after 30 years with my man, I had to find out who I was myself. In the past 4 years, it is getting better. Right. We have to reinvent ourselves sometimes and like see ourselves now in a different light because we're no longer a wife. We are now someone else. We're our own person. And that's a hard transition to do. Let's see. Evelyn says, thank you so much. I've not listened to you for a long while. Missed you. I believe God used you today to speak to me in my prayer for passion and purpose. God bless you. Asking for prayers. All right, Evelyn, you're on our prayer list for today. And I will make sure that I put you on there. I want to go on a mission trip. Oh, that's a nice passion. Plus that's helpful to other people. So let me know what you plan on doing, where you plan on going, because I'm sure some church will be happy to sponsor you for that, or some family would be happy to sponsor you for that. Lori says, pickleball, sewing for Operation Christmas Child, and a new cookbook. Love it. Love it. Love it. Pickleball is like a new thing. Everybody's getting into pickleball. Is it good for old people? Like I would love to get into some sport, but like I can't. I'm too old to do it anymore. I'm afraid of getting hurt. I was still playing softball up until about 2-3 years ago, and I just got to where I couldn't find a woman's team, so I was playing on a men's team. And that's hard because I was old and I was the only woman on the team. And so it was, yeah, I was just playing for the love of the game. And then I couldn't do it anymore. So anyway, I get emotional at church. So I listen to the service online first and then go worship with my family and friends. That's an idea. Jody says, widowhood is part of who I am, but it's not only who I am. That's exactly what I want to instill in people. Like I might be widowed, but that's not my whole identity, right? And Barbara says, piano mom, I play the piano by ear, relieves stress. I've written several songs. See, Barbara, I can't, that's another thing. I can't do anything by ear. Same thing with, like I said, I have to have constraints. Like I can play the piano, but I have to have music in front of me to read. I have to read music. I can't just pick it out and make stuff up and like listen to something and try to pick it out. Like I cannot do it. Even though I'm pretty good at playing the piano. And my oldest daughter, somehow she never took piano lessons or nothing. She just learned how to play by ear. She'd listen and pick out the notes and the tunes, and she'd eventually be able to play music. And she can play pretty well without ever having a lesson. Just she plays by ear. I don't get it. Like my brain doesn't work that way. But if you can, more power to you. I think it's awesome. I think you get more enjoyment out of it if you can just freehand, just play by ear or play what comes, like kind of freestyle it. But I'm not able to do that. And so it almost seems like work sometimes. And now my piano is so old and dusty and falling apart, and it really needs a tune up because it's the same piano I've had since I was 5 years old, and it hasn't been tuned up in probably 30 years or so. And so it's just not even fun to play anymore. So it's just sitting in my basement, just kind of collecting dust. So anyway, maybe my husband, for a gift for me sometime, will have somebody come in and tune it for me and like repair the parts of it that need to be repaired so I can sit back down and enjoy it. Anyway, my passion is I'm getting back into my business and back into the fabric and back into hopefully the sewing. And so I have been selling, like I'm my Whatnot channel for my fabric shows are getting pretty big. And I'll put the link down below too if you want to join Whatnot. Whatnot is an online auction site. It's kind of like eBay meets Home Shopping Network. So you can buy things live. And so I have every Tuesday and Thursday night, I have fabric shows to where women come on, mostly women, and they come on and they bid on the fabric. And I started doing $1 starts. And so I actually make more money starting it at $1 and letting people bid it up than if I set the price where I needed it to be. And so like last Tuesday, I made $900 in 2 hours in a 2-hour show. Like that's not my profit, obviously, because I sold a lot of fabric, but like I was, it definitely ignited a passion. I was like, yes, I'm selling fabric. I'm making money. And I'm getting to like live chat, kind of like this. There's a chat on the side where people they can't talk out loud, but they can chat and ask questions. We can talk about sewing or fabric or whatever, or the weather or whatever. And in the process, I'm selling fabric. And as soon as the show's over, I pack it up and I ship it out. And the next Thursday, I made $600. And then the last Tuesday, I made $500. So like, and now I'm almost out of fabric and I'm having to buy more, which is exciting because I love shopping for fabric. So I have an excuse to shop for fabric so I can turn around and sell it again. Right. So anyway, it's kind of ignited this passion in me to build this business up that I've dabbled in for so many years and gotten away from. And when I get away from it, I forget how much I love it. Then when I get back into it, I'm like, man, I forgot how much I love this stuff. Talking about sewing, teaching about sewing, teaching is just a part of me, right? I mean, I've just been a teacher in some way my whole adult life. And so even though the education system is broken and kids have lots of issues, which that's not for me anymore, but there's something in me that still likes to teach people about things. And so that's just part of me that will never go away. So now I get to teach people about how's the best way to sew with this certain fabric, or what could you make with this, or I get to still teach or help people or guide people on their grief journey or whatever it is. So that's my new passion as far as my business stuff is the fabric stuff. I'm still selling some other things, like eBay has been picking up. I'm selling a bunch of nursing scrubs that I bought at a thrift shop. I've sold some paintings, I've sold a Christmas train, but that's just ways to make money. But selling fabric is fun. And so I get to do it every Tuesday and Thursday night, as long as there's more fabric to be sold. Right. And so I get to go on live and talk to all these other ladies who are just as passionate about fabric as I am, if not more. And I've got stuff that they want and they're like, oh man, I love this. I want this. And so it's just a way for us all to get together and share our common passion of collecting fabric. Whether we sew with it or not, that's another hobby altogether. Collecting fabric is a different hobby than sewing with fabric. And if you sew, you definitely know that. So building up your stash, that's a hobby in itself. And so, all right. So happy for you. Very inspiring. Thank you so much. Class on card. Okay, hold on. A class on card file cleaning system and current events class. Okay, so you're going to take that. Awesome. So get back with us and let us know how that's going. And Evelyn says, loved my years of teaching, retired now, love the kids and parents, hated the politics. California is terrible. Yeah. I don't think it's just California anymore. I think it's everywhere. It's worse in some places, but even in Georgia, in the Bible Belt, as they call it, is still just getting, it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of catering to parents and entitled kids, entitled parents, admin that doesn't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. And you know how it is. Anyway, I can go on about that, but that's another topic entirely. So think about what your passion might be. And I encourage you to just start thinking about it. And even if you don't feel like it, do it anyway, because you probably forgot how much you like it until you get back into it. That happens so much. You start doing stuff, you're like, man, I forgot how much I love this, whether it's gardening or cooking or painting or whatever it is, decorating your house, something, tinkering with tools, whatever it might be. Try it, get back into it. And I promise you, you will probably have forgotten how much you like doing whatever it is, or how much you're enjoying learning how to do something new. And you'll find that during that time, you totally forgot about the fact that you're a widow and the grief journey that you're on. And trust me, all that stuff's going to come back, but it's okay to put that stuff on the back burner for a while and think about something that you truly enjoy and just get immersed in that passion for a change. All right. So I encourage you to try that. That's going to be your homework for this week, or at least this month. Right. And I will try my best to be back on at noon next Monday and be there on time. Pray for my daughter. She's, you know, she's trying to learn how to be a grown up and navigate the world of love and relationships. And she's learned so much in her short amount on earth, but she's dealt with so much grief and just so much stuff that she's a really strong girl. And I'm so proud of where she's come. But, she's just been dealt a blow, a heartbreaking blow. And she's going to have to figure out how to navigate through it. And so that's what I'm here for, is just to be mom and offer advice if she wants it. I have to ask, like, I'm listening. Do you want me to listen, or do you want me to give you advice? And sometimes she wants both, and sometimes she just wants me to listen. So today she wanted both. All right. Thank you so much for your prayers, and I'm praying for all of you too. Thank you for coming in and spending your time with me and watching. If you don't mind, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so that you don't miss any other videos. And it also helps when you come in and watch, because that's my other form of income. So it's not a whole lot, but every little bit helps. All right. Thank you so much to all of you. I appreciate you, and I will see you next week. Bye.